and welcome back to Beginner Dobro. My name is Justin Gambrell and I'm glad that you're with us today. Today is the next step in looking at how we can play bluesier stuff on the Dobro. Now before we talked about playing in an open position with an open G blues scale. Which is great. I use that all the time and there's no problems with that. However, sometimes two things could happen. Maybe we don't want to be playing in the key of G. Maybe we're in like D or E or something, and that's not going to work too well. But we also, many times, want a more higher sound. A more dig in, up the neck, that high lonesome sound. And there's a difference in the kind of whine that you can get down at the bottom, open, and the stuff that you can get going farther up the neck. They're very different sounds. And so what we're going to be working on today is continuing to help play the bluesy stuff, just like I was playing down here. But we're going to learn ways to play that in different keys using a small movable scale that we can move into different keys. We're going to be focusing today still in the key of G, using our 12th fret. We count all the way up to 12. That's where we get back to G. For myself, it's in line with the body. And that'll kind of be our home G chord for this. Now, many times, we call this pattern the X pattern. Because when we're looking at the notes that it's having us play on the fretboard, because if you look at it from above, you can really picture it. It gives us a nice X. So if we play on our third string, which is our G note on that 12th fret, starting there, we can go down to, so your 10th fret, same string, back up to that 12th fret, to the G, move up to your next string, but go down a fret to the 11th fret, move up to the first string, going down to the 10th fret, and now if you're following that idea of picturing the X, first string, move that up to the 12th fret. And so we kind of have this picture between the 10th and 12th fret with the 11th in the middle that makes that nice X. So we get this 0, we got a -2, 0, -1, -2, 0. And that should be up next to me right about now. Remember that we're really trying to think relative to our home chord. So right now we're in G, so we're using that 12th fret, and then you go -2 or -1 as needed. If we were in D, you'd start at your 7th fret, going -2, -1 as needed. And this allows us to use our bluesier notes in something that is super simple to remember. I mean, as soon as you can picture that X, you can use it all over. As well as going down to the lower strings, because as always, the top 3 strings and bottom 3 strings are exactly the same. So now would be a great time, as I always recommend, to go ahead and pause the video, spend some time really working on this, seeing if you can get it under your fingers a little bit, especially while the chart is right next to me, that you can read it, you can look, you can get it to sound like I have it. And so once you've tried that, you can come back together and I'll begin to show this in how we use it. Now, as with all of our scales, there's 2 things that we really use our scales for. The first is as we play breaks. So in those same kinds of songs that we talked about in that last video, a song that includes that flat 7 chord, like in the key of G if you've got an F chord, or something that's got blues in the name, you can use a scale like this to just play a full break. But even more than that, you can use it for short, quick licks in between the vocalist as they're singing. So now I'm going to go ahead and show you using this scale, and I'm going to work really hard as always to try to stick to just those notes in that scale as I showed you, to demonstrate how you use this so you can hear a bit of that. So let's go ahead and try that. Mama don't allow no bluegrass playing around here. Mama don't allow no bluegrass playing around here. Well, we don't care, Mama don't allow, 'cause we're gonna play it anyhow. Mama don't allow no bluegrass playing around So I hope that really demonstrates a lot of kind of how this sounds. And again, it's a super simple, just 5 notes, and you can just run up and down it, play it easily, and it sounds like you know what you're doing to play some fun bluesy stuff. Again, doing that for both licks and to do it for a full break as well. So as always, now it's time to give a couple extra tips for how we can take this a little bit farther than just the basic concept. So first of all, and I think I demonstrated this a lot in my playing there of Mama Don't Allow, is that you can slide all around this. You don't need to just do a very choppy, but sliding between these notes and into each and every one of them, like. Remember, we're playing the Dobro, and we have that emphasis to be able to slide, and always slide as much as possible. But I think in blues especially is when that sounds great, especially being up the neck to get that whine on the higher notes. And that's just a great way to be able to add a little bit more to this scale, is just sliding back and forth all around it. A second thing that you can do that can add a little bit more variety to this is that you can follow the chord changes. Because remember, we're sticking with a chord and then we're playing a lick. So in a song like that, when we moved to that D chord and there was that little extra length in the melody where the vocalist wasn't singing, I could have moved down to the D chord and played a lick using this same scale. And so you can follow if we're going to like C or D or something else and play a lick there as it moves, and that'll still sound really nice and complement the song in certain ways. As I showed in that recording, you don't have to, and it still sounds good. But it's just something else that can maybe add variety if you think you're going to get bored with just playing the same 5 notes in the one position over and over again. And finally, this is the most advanced, and I'll probably put a video on this in the future. If you really do want a video on this in the future, please put it down in the comments below. But you can begin to mix some of your scales. And so remember, we had talked about that open scale that was down at the bottom. Well, if you know that all of our notes just repeat once you get up to 12, you can play that same scale up here too. And so if you combine some of what you're playing in this X pattern with that pattern, you can add more variety. And it lets you get up to the next G that's up above it, and just gives you a little bit more to play with in adding new licks and lines to what you're playing. Now, learning to move between different positions and scales is not the easiest and does take a little bit of really knowing those scales, but that's something that as we start to add more of these to our repertoire, you can start messing with when you play one versus the other and starting to meld them together. And so I list that just to give those players who are itching for a little bit more to have some more. But even if you just take the first half of the video and just work on that for a while, that is going to make your playing sound really cool when you're playing these bluesy stuff. So remember to go keep on picking, keep on learning all the variety that we can play on the Dobro, and grow to know how to wisely play it when you're being with other people. If you really appreciated this video and what you learned from it, please like it. Add a comment if there's any more questions that you have about this or other videos that you'd love to see me cover for topics on the Dobro. And as always, go ahead, have fun picking, and pick wisely as you do it. Goodbye.